doing? What are you doing? Get it. Silly girl. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a really tough week, I guess you could say. That's Cuda. She's my pit bull, my little overweight pit bull. And she's the only shop dog we have now. I'm kind of just airing this out just for a little bit of a memory of myself. But if you guys have seen the dog that was played at the beginning of this video in the background, that was Ori. She was my dog for about 15 years, and we lost her exactly 1 week ago, which was last Thursday. So, needless to say, it's been a very, very tough few days. And then on top of that, we also had our swap meet that we do every year and bring parts to over the weekend. So, I hadn't got much done in the shop, which I think is absolutely okay. I've got a few things to do today, but I definitely wanted to take a minute out and I don't know, just kind of think back on her a little bit. And obviously I noticed that she's not going to be scampering around in the shop anymore, and it kind of bums me out. But she was a great dog, 15 awesome years, and she was starting to have some neurologic problems, and she's not having those anymore. So she's in a better place, I wholeheartedly believe. And anyway, that's the heavy section, or that's the heavy part of this video. We're gonna move on and go over some other things. And one of those things would be, why is the Sonoma's bed right here and not on there? So on the last video, if you saw, we got this thing running for the first time, running right for the first time in a very long time. And well, we went to go put gas in it. Let me turn the light on. And I noticed gas was spewing on the ground when I was putting gas in it. Well, come to find out, we have a gigantic hole in our one of our filler neck vent lines. And it was also rubbing right here as well. So that was about to go. We took the bed off quick because we had no idea where it was coming from. I didn't film it because it was like kind of like a, we've got an hour and a half to do this. Let's get this done and see what we can look at. Because we were trying to get it ready to go to a show. Anyways, what we found out is obviously the hole right here where fuel was coming out of, but also that all of these fuel lines are really, really old and falling apart, and they're about to go. So we ordered all new fuel lines for it. I do have them, they came in. But also we have a rear sway bar for this thing. So it's gonna be kind of a hard install because you have to kind of like drill some holes and stuff like that. So while the bed is off, we're gonna go ahead and try to install that. So we'll probably be working on that over this weekend if I can find the brackets, which I haven't found. But anyway, I just want to let you guys know, yeah, we dropped the tank. We're getting ready to replace the fuel lines, and that's why the bed is off on the Sonoma. So that's a good sign because we're trying to get it ready for a pretty long road trip at the end of April, and we want it to be good. And the new fuel lines will definitely help us out on that. So, but today, my plan is to get the rear end hung on these leaf springs. So I don't have a whole lot going on. It shouldn't take too long to get done. But just a heads up as well, you can't, I don't know if you can see it really well without it tilted, but I cut the old leaf spring hangers off. Right, yeah. And anyway, and I ground it all down so we can set it on the new leaf spring hangers and kind of get those tack welded when we get it in place and we're ready. We're not doing all that today. We're just going to try to get it hung so we know how much room there is in between the axle and the frame rail, and kind of make plans from there to see what our next decisions are going to be. So my plan today is I'm going to use the cherry picker to try to pick that thing up. I'm going to drop the leaf springs down, get the rear end up in the air, pull the leaf springs back up, and see if that will hold it in place for now. So let me kind of get everything sorted, because I've got a couple of things to do before I get there, and then we'll get started. Okay, here's the overall plan. I've turned the rear end sideways for now. Since I'm doing this by myself, it might be a little tricky. But I'm going to go ahead and loosen up the leaf springs right here on each side and drop them down to the ground. Then I'm going to get a couple straps, put it around the differential, lift it up with the cherry picker, and kind of get it into place, and then pull the leaf springs back up. It sounds simple. Let's see how simple it'll be. This is less than ideal because I don't know, I guess I didn't strap it well enough. We had some unwrapping there, but I think it's in a place now where I can put these leaf springs up and then kind of get it in position by just moving it. So let's do that. Beautiful. All right, now I really just got to get this thing lined up. See if we can't rotate it a little bit. Get that out the way. Beautiful. Close now. Oop. That was not desired. Now we're going to rotate that pumpkin over, if the straps will let me. Cool, cool, cool. Well, it's in a rough location, but we can work with that. All right, well, I've got it all measured and in place. Measured a bunch of different areas to try to get it as centered as possible, and I think I've done a good job on that. Bunch of different measuring points, but I'll show you the last measuring point that I decided to go off of that I think is going to be the most accurate. So what I decided to do was kind of get my T-square, or I don't know if you call it T-square, whatever, my square, and put it on the frame rail so it's flat. And then I ran my measuring tape on the bottom here so I could hook it on, and then I measured the outside leading edge of this caliper bracket, which I have at about 9 and 15 sixteenths, or 9 and 7/8. And it's about the same way on the other side. Let me show you guys real close on that. If you're doing this yourself, measure it yourself in your own way, Or I mean, you can do this way again, but don't use my measurements because there might be slight variations. But yeah, that's about 10 and 15/16 from what I can see. And I'm using the edge of this here. Show you the other side. Here is the driver's side. Again, same method to the madness, frame rail with the square. And that one's hard to see through the camera. Yep, 10 and 15/16. Be easier to do with two people. That one almost looks like 10. I think I did it from the top on the other side. Yeah. All right. So you're talking, it might be a 1/16 of the inch off. I'm good with that because I'm gonna lock it down. We're not gonna fully weld it in. We can do some more measurements before we do that, but I definitely want to get it locked down and do some measurements on how far the axle is from the frame. Now that the axle's hanging, we might be okay. But let me get the U-bolts out and the caltrac bottoms out and kind of get this thing temporary in place for forever. Well, this is pretty exciting. I've got the measurements out, like I said. When I bought all this stuff, I also bought a set of U-bolts from Calvert Racing. I don't think they have a part number, but the 8.8 is 3.5 inches in diameter on the axle tubes, and these are 7 inches long. So I just tried that guy out there, and I've got plenty of hang down here. So I should be good. And here are the Calvert Racing axle brackets. I don't know what you want to call them. I'm going to call them axle brackets. But these are the rear brackets that are going to hold the axle in place. I've looked at these as much as I can. They look to be universal. I even think they say they're universal in the package. So let's throw the other U-bolt on there. Get that in place. The bolts are they're, what are they? They're 3/4. And so let's get it all hung here. Just a little heads up on these brackets. There's a hole in the back right here. Hopefully you guys can see that. There's also a bolt in the leaf spring right there. You want to make sure that when you tighten it up, that bolt goes through this hole in the middle. Sweet. That dude's in place for now. Let me do the other side. This will be very satisfying. Oh yeah. Holy crap. Sorry for the ride there. But the truck has a rear end. How about them now? There you have it. The rear end is in the truck. It's mounted. It's not welded. We still got some work to do. But overall, it looks pretty good. These Explorers are almost bolted other than the fabrication on welding the mounts and stuff, because the diffs are actually offside the same amount as the Dakota rear ends are. And it looks awesome. I even put the caltracs bars on just for some visual effect. Those are not on for good. There's still a lot of things to do before those are on for good. But I could put this truck on the ground, and the only thing that is stopping me is I need some brake rotors before I can put the wheels on and lug nuts. So that's coming up here soon. But This looks so good, man. This is I can't talk, obviously. This is just awesome to see. It's been a heck of a journey, and we're getting closer for it being done. Now that I said that, with the rear end hanging in place, there is about 5 inches or so in between the housing and the frame. So does that mean we won't have to C-notch it? I'm not sure, but that's promising. We may not have to do much here, and if that is the case, I'll be very, very, very happy. All right, well, it's March, and I'm sweating like a pig already. It doesn't make any sense. But humidity's back in Houston, and oh well, we'll just deal with it. But let me know what you guys think. There's still some steps to take, but we're getting closer to having the motor and trans back in this thing, and it's running and going down the strip, and that whole thing that we have been missing doing for almost over a year. So, wow. So if you're new to the channel, obviously we have a whole bunch going on. We've got all kinds of projects in different stages. Our YouTube channel is full of playlists. I try to organize that stuff as much as possible, and that contains the Drag Week Dakota, Gramps 4.8 twin turbo project that we're doing, our Bel Air, my Barn Find Nova, and the Sonoma GT, and some other things that I've done in the past. So go check it out, and if you like it, please consider subscribing. We'd love to have you along, follow along the projects. And if you already have subscribed, again, you guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. If you want to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, you can check us out at the RacerX Garage, and also those links are on our website, racerxgarage.com. So thanks for hanging out. Let us know what you think of this whole project here and how it's going, and we'll catch you next time. So until next time, you know the deal. Y'all be good.